welcome to the Black Ponderer. Let's see. Hello, Jeremy. It's a birthday. Happy birthday. And hello, Nadia. I think I can be heard. Good here. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. What I want to do is I want to. I'm still trying to. Since I moved, got this new setup. But I mean, first of all, are we still having an aesthetically pleasing background? No, because I got this shed. This kind of mini garage. Because I got all this stuff that we need to put in the garage, but it hasn't. It's supposed to come today, but it did not come today. So no aesthetically pleasing. Still got some stuff. Which there you go. No. Still got some stuff and it's got that stuff needs to be in the garage, but it's just gonna stay there. Oh well. I just want to bring up the topic that we're talking about. Let me go to look at some of these things that I wrote, some notes. So YouTube. Let's see. I want to go to content, and I want to go to live, and I want to go to edit. Okay, that'll do. Okay. Yeah. So we can get started. Welcome to the Black Ponderer. This is a YouTube channel where we talk about philosophy, and we mostly focus on philosophical texts, our texts with philosophical themes, and then sometimes we do the live stream. That's what we're doing today. And today's topic is friendship. What's the philosophy in regards to friendship? And of course, there's a lot of philosophical work on the topic of friendship. But let's see some of the chat. And I noticed last week my chat wasn't working at the last part of the stream, or something like that. Something happened. I think it's like an OBS thing, the open source streaming software that's very popular. But it's open source. So it's gonna have some bugs in it. I mean, all software has bugs, right? But when people are getting paid, it's rough. So I hear OBS does do that kind of thing. So I stopped the streaming, and all of a sudden I started to see this huge wall of text that I didn't see. I was like, wait, where did all this come from? So hopefully the text will come, the chat will display all the comments, but if not, I think I know how to double check that. So there's that. And then we're seeing here, friendship is an interesting and deep human activity. Yeah, no, it's true. How does it feel to be a homeowner? Well, it's nice to not have the damn landlord on your ass. Some people have great landlords. I used to have a good landlord. One place I stayed at, that landlord was pretty good, pretty decent. But the few I've had, one I had was really bad. One really bad landlord. As you know, that's not unusual. Lots of people have bad, property managers and such. The last one I had, he was all right, but he kind of kept getting on my ass about cutting the yard and shit. And now at least I don't have that. I still gotta get the yard cut, but at least I don't have somebody hounding my ass all the time about that. But technically, I still don't own the home. I guess because I got a mortgage. So like the mortgage lender also has equal ownership, or like actually he has more ownership because they I pulled the loan out. So I don't know. I feel like I technically still don't own the home, right? Until the mortgage is paid, which will be a very long time from now. So that's how I feel. But that's a whole other. I mean, we could go into that topic. But then also, if you want to bring up, if there's anybody in the chat that was trying to say something to me, but the chat didn't display some of the messages at the end. If you want to bring those messages back up, I can definitely talk about them. If you want, if not, it's all good. And then friends are made to support and trust you, and vice versa. Jeremy says the best friends are those who don't judge you and put no conditions. Friendships must be built on mutual grounds. I also think friendship between different people is the most fulfilling. I don't know. I think boundaries are important in friendships. That's what Nadia responds to that. Yeah, we can. We can have a conversation about all those things and more. And then, so we're talking about friendship. Because sometimes you just want to go where everybody knows your name, and where you're always glad you came. You want to be where you can see our troubles all the same. Everybody. You want to be where everybody knows your name, right? I did I even like that show growing up? Not really. I mean, it was okay. Cheers. I was a little boy. I'm talking like when I first saw that Cheers. I'm talking about Cheers when the everybody knows your name. I think I was like 4, 5, 6 when the final season was airing and shit. Right? But I saw reruns. But that's a nice place. A nice, that show. The theme is friendship. Like that's the whole theme of that show. Right? And then you got the sitcom Friends. Right. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, Friends is cool. But yeah, one of these days. But before we'll talk about the comments. But before one of these days, I'm gonna make a video about Plato's dialogue Symposium, because that's a great text about friendship. And it goes into Platonic love, and it talks about differentiating between different kinds of love, and they talk about the friendship love, and that's very interesting to discuss. It's on my shelf. I just gotta make a video. It's just there's so many people, so many recommendations. I'm in so many book clubs, but eventually I'm gonna get to that one. That's so whenever that's gonna come out, which probably won't be soon. That'll be kind of a follow-up to this, right? Because the ancient Greeks definitely had a lot to say about the concept of friendship. There's been a lot of philosophical analysis throughout the ages about friendship. So we can get into that too. Boundaries are important, but they are not always fixed. An open mind does help in breaking rules. So, what's the first one here? Friends are made to support and trust you, and vice versa. Yeah, I think a good friend supports you, and trust is important in any relationship, right? Sure. It's probably not exclusive to friendship, but yeah, a good friend is a friend that you can trust. I'm just trying to think about. I have many friends, and that's another area of discussion, which the ancient Greeks talked about. Like, is it better to have a little bit of friends, but spend a lot of time, or is it better to have many friends, right, and split that time because you only have so much capacity, right? And that's another thing. I'm the type of guy that has a large amount of friends, right? And I think that really works well for me. But some people are like, I can only have a small portion because I can only give so much of my time. But it doesn't work like that with me. The best friends are those who don't judge you and put no conditions. Judging can be something that is bad a lot of the time. Judge, If you think about like the Christian, where Jesus taught like don't judge people, but he said don't judge people unless you yourself want to be judged, right? So he didn't say don't judge people, period. He just said, look, if you gotta judge people, don't be surprised if other people are gonna judge you, or if you're gonna judge somebody, then you are gonna be judged, and you're opening the door for being judged too. So it's a mutual street. And so, I think friends are kind of cool when they call you out on things that are kind of bad. Because a friend is, it's interesting, right? I think a good friend is somebody who does kind of call you out on when you do some bullshit. But they do it in a way like, look, come on, man, I know you're better than that. You're better than this. You could, it's not like, because some friends will be like, well, I'm not gonna be your friend if you're gonna be like this. Which there is a boundary, right? I've actually lost a lot of friends during the during the Trump presidency. Unfortunately, like a lot of people showed their true colors during the Trump presidency, as well as during the 2020 pandemic, when there was really a lot of people. I was like, damn, you really like a lot of people like their deep thoughts about things really just kind of was exposed, and I'm like, man, I don't think I can hang out with you anymore. And then some people were like, yeah, I don't think I like you anymore. And I'm like, well, that's fine. And yeah, I would say that's a kind of judgment, but then we're not friends, so that's what you're saying. That's an interesting thing too. And then hello, one source. I wonder how similar close friend breakups are compared to romantic breakups. Yeah. It could be rough losing a friend. But let me go to... I'll definitely talk about that, but let me go in order of the comments here. Now I got this set up where... I can make the chat window really big, so it's gonna be hard for me to miss chats now. Friends are those, and then friendship must be built on mutual grounds, mutual goals. Yeah, good friendship. I don't know. To me, that's more like camaraderie or camaradereship. I think those two are both words. Yeah, I think that's more camaraderie when we're talking about mutual goals. But our friends comrades as well? They can be. But a friend doesn't have to have. I'm not sure if a friend should. Or does a friend have to have the same goals as you? Or like similar goals? I don't know. Some of my friends, like, what they want to achieve is like, I definitely don't want to achieve that, but I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I don't know about that. Yeah, I think, but people have different criteria for what a friend is, and I think that's cool. I think sometimes people make this, they have this, there's this idea that a friend is this, and this is what a good friend is for all people. But and so we read books about friendship, like the Symposium and stuff like that. But I kind of realized, like, some people, their idea of what a friend is different from somebody else, and it doesn't necessarily, and that doesn't mean that they have an incorrect conception of what a friend is. It's just that's what they think is a friend, as opposed to somebody else. And I think it's okay to have different criteria of friendship. I also think friendship between different people is the most fulfilling. Yeah. Is it the most fulfilling? It is. It can be fulfilling. but mutual friends are cool. But friends that are not mutual, like two different kinds of people who are friends, that's cool too. It could be the same quality, just different. Different. And then Nadia says boundaries are important, friend. Yeah, yeah. I think so. I think so. You should be like, hey, there's these conditions, like like when I was, for example, in the yeah, it's kind of interesting when you think about it. This experience happened to a lot of people. Let me turn down my music on my end. Right, this happened to a lot of people, right, with the pandemic, and there was people who were like, I don't believe in wearing masks, or like, or like I think it is not that big of a deal. Like the pandemic, the COVID-19 is a hoax. It's not that big of a deal. And some people were saying, well, people have the right to believe what they want to believe. But the thing is, like, I know I have loved ones, and many people went through this. It's like, yeah, you can believe what you want, but there's people who are immune compromised, or there's people who have loved ones who are at great risk. Personally, like, I'm not as in danger of the disease, COVID-19. I've actually never gotten COVID-19. Very lucky. I got the vaccines and stuff. Maybe I just probably was very lucky. I've never gotten the disease, the virus. Yeah. But I have friends who are immune compromised and loved ones. So I'm like, well, you saying all this, like, I'm not wearing a mask, it's like you're literally putting people I love's lives at risk, and that's not cool, right? It's like, so there's this idea like, well, if that's what they think, that's what they think. But when what you think is putting other people's lives in danger, that's when the boundary has to be drawn. It's like, well, I can't be a friend with somebody who's okay with putting other people's lives at risk, and then so the counter is like, well, they don't believe that they're putting people's lives. Everybody's like, well, then that's your prerogative, but I can't associate, that's not cool with me, right? Right. So, I mean, and I think a friend would understand and be like, well, I don't agree with you, but I feel you feel very strongly about this, so I'm going to just wear a mask. I might not believe, but I'm going to wear a mask for you. I'm going to do it for you. But when you don't do that, it's like, well, you don't, because, like, for example, wearing a mask, it doesn't really hurt you. Like, you're not really, So to me, that's like, well, now I really understand how much you really care, right, about our relationship. You care more about this weird ideal or this kind of conspiracy theory that's more important to you than our friendship, right? So there's definitely boundaries, and then there's other things of that nature. Right. So yeah, I think there are boundaries that when you cross it, it's like, yeah, I don't think we can be friends anymore. And that's pretty sad, but that's the thing. And then let's see here. Boundaries are important, but they are not always fixed. An open mind does help in breaking rules. I mean, it does depend. It does depend. Like when I say, what I'm saying is, an open mind is important. Like if you believe in different things, like, yeah, that shouldn't necessarily break your friendship. But when, like what I mentioned, what you believe is putting other people's lives in danger, that's when I have to cross the line. Another thing is like transphobic people. It's like, yeah, you're not really my friend, because I have a transgender daughter. And transphobic language, when people are just throwing out like transphobic terms, that literally, like, hate crimes I think it's in the world, but definitely in the United States of America, but I think it's just globally, right? Hate crimes against trans people are increasing, and that just correlates directly with the amount of hate. Also the amount of, like, transphobia is becoming more public and more vocal, and there's a direct correlation to that. So transphobic language, when you're like, well, I don't accept trans, it's one thing to be Yeah. I mean, when you say things like that, and we can have a conversation about it. We can say like, well, I disagree with you. Like, I do think you don't think like trans women are women, right? Uh, I disagree with you, and we can have a conversation about that. But am I going to be your friend when you say that? No, because like that kind of language puts people's lives in danger. And it's the truth. It's had to say. Sometimes like opinions can be more than just opinions, right? You really do have to, be careful about it. Opinions can just be opinions, but sometimes they're not just opinions, right? They have a lot of power, and that's something you need to be, people need to be aware of. Like, that's why I think philosophy is so important, right? Because well, it's just their opinion. They have a right to their opinion, sure, but like there's consequences for people's ways of thinking. That's why we really do have to really think about why we believe in the things we do, because they have consequences. It's not like, oh, well, I just believe this and that's my right and it doesn't hurt anybody, because well, it depends. Right? Sometimes what you think really does hurt other people. Right? And some people will say, well, that's not the case. Well, no, actually it is the case. That's why I always push the philosophy. Like, you can't be flippant about that. Well, I believe these things and that's my rights. Well, you gotta like think deeper than that. Is the things that you believe in hurting people? That's why I left the church. I'm still, like I've said this in many videos. Like, I'm a believe, I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus, but the church, the Christian institution is just like this trauma center. I'm not like helping. It's creating trauma and danger for people. So I'm like this. I don't know. I can't vibe with the Christian institution because it puts people's lives in danger. Like, well, people have the right to believe in. Yeah, but when you're literally like motivating people to hate people and then kill people. I mean. So that's the boundaries that we need to think about, right? And it's important to allow people to think differently about things, but we do have to understand the consequences. Sometimes, they can put people in, like racist ideas and things like that. It really can put people's lives and livelihood in danger. So yeah. And then one source, yeah, you're saying how, is it, I wonder how close it is for when you lose a friend than when you lose a romantic partner. Yeah, it depends, right? Because, when you're, yeah, it just depends, right? Because romantic partners, you have this other relationship, you get very intimate with the person that, like, as in a way that you're not going to get with a friend necessarily. So it might hurt more, but then again, it might not. You might, the intimacy that you're in a romantic relationship might not be as valuable as just like chilling with a friend. It just depends. It can't be the case that losing a friend is more hurtful than losing a romantic partner, but it can also be the case that that's switched. It really does depend on your relationship. And then Nadia says, I have a lot of friends who don't live where I live and live around the world. Whenever we see each other, rarely. It's like nothing ever changed between us. Love that feeling, but I do miss them. Yeah. I live in Tennessee now, the state of Tennessee. But I grew up in California. So many of my friends are still in California. And so and thank God for social media. Like Facebook, I use Facebook a lot. See, it's funny. Yeah, social media is like, it can be very harmful. But for me, social media has never like negatively impacted me. If anything, it's helped me tremendously because I'm able to keep in touch with a lot of my friends from out of state. And I could just talk to my friends from out of state like on a regular basis. It's almost like I'm still hanging out with them in person, but it's nothing like being in person, right? That's a whole better way of communicating. But Facebook in particular, because I'm of that generation, I'm of the Facebook generation. So all my friends are on Facebook, and then we just do the FaceTime and all that stuff. And it's just like hanging out with old friends, but we just do that to this day. Sorry, I had to sneeze there. Sneeze. So yeah, it's funny when I see that. But I understand the whole like social media is bad, of course, because social media, they companies, they just want to keep you addicted to the you doom scrolling so they can push their ads onto you. I get all that, but I've never. I guess I'm just lucky in that way. I've never like been susceptible to that trap. And social, like it would be horrible. Like if I didn't have social media, like a lot, I wouldn't. I don't know how I'd be able to keep in contact with all my friends in California. I'm, you know, maybe we would figure it out. Maybe we wouldn't. Like, so I'm very thankful for social media. I'm pretty sure I'm in the minority there, where most people are like, or maybe not, man, because I know most people still use both social media despite all the criticism and the right, the justifiable criticism of these social media companies. But yeah, that's how, and so that reminds me of what one of the points I brought up is I have a lot of friends like who I consider like good close friends. Like I have a good like 50 in California, and then I probably have like another 50 or 60 people I'm just thinking in my head who I consider pretty cool friends here in Tennessee. Right? And I keep in contact with all of them. I think social media makes that very easy. And so you might think like, well, that the quality of your relationship with them is probably not that good. No, it's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty cool. I think. I don't think it's a superficial relationship. I think it's pretty cool. But that's another cool thing about social media. It allows you to have more friends. But you go back and forth about that. It's like, well, you know, a friend, what's a Facebook friend is just somebody who like likes your posts, and then they don't do anything else. Well, not my Facebook friends. Mine's well, not all. Some are just like that. But my close buddies, who are like, I would say about 50 of them, we talk on the regular. We have cool conversations. It's like the old school days of America Online. I know most people are too young to remember. But the online chat rooms where you have really cool conversations on message boards and such. All right, let me look at some other chats of people. With your many friends, do you feel tired to talk to all of them? No, I think it's great. But I guess that's the difference between the introvert and the extrovert. I mentioned before, I think I'm in the middle. I think the label they call this is ambivert. That term has been thrown out. You're like, oh, you're an ambivert. You're a mix between an introvert and an extrovert. Like, I could be alone. I'm cool with being alone. But I'm also cool with being with lots of people. And when I'm with a lot of people, it kind of fuels me. It like gives me like energy. So I'm not tired. I don't feel tired when I'm talking to a lot of people. Like, I know introverts, they get tired when they talk to a lot of people. And then extroverts, the more people they talk to, the more energy they get. So I'm kind of like in the middle. In a sense, like I don't talk like, I don't have to like dominate the conversation. I don't have to be the one. I could just sit back and just listen a lot. And I'm comfortable with somebody just talking my ear off. Like, I'm cool with that. Most people would find that annoying, but I like people who have something to say and they want to tell a story. They might talk for like 10, 15 minutes. I'll just sit there and listen to them. And I'm cool with being in a conversation where it's like, six people, and I'm the seventh guy, and I'm just sitting there listening to these six people talking back and forth, and I don't say anything. I'm just listening. And I find great. I enjoy that a lot. Enjoy it. Just kind of listening to interesting conversations with people I know. So no. And hello, Lionel, Daniel. And then Jeremy says accountability is important, but I'm referring to judgment as things you can't control, like sex, race, sexual orientation, mental disorder. Yeah, right. Judging. Well, is that judging, or is that like hatred? What is like, well, I don't like you because you're black, or you're gay, or you're a woman, like, or you have depression. Like, I don't know if that. I mean, I guess a lot of people say like, yeah, you're judgy, but to me that's not judgment. That's just like, oh, you're a hateful person. because you that's not judgment, because you literally, I guess it is a kind of judgment, right? Like, I don't like you because of this. But that's irrational judgment. Right? I don't know. So I guess it is a kind of judgment, but to me that's more like hateful. Judgment is like, to me, like when people are judgy, is like, oh, you're not a very tidy person. Like, you don't clean up after yourself, and so I don't. I don't think you're a good person because you're a very messy person. That's, to me, that's like more judgment. It's like like a characteristic about you, which is also can be bad, but it also can, you can draw the line too when it's like, look, I just can't deal with a mess. I need tidiness in my life. I have an anxiety against messiness, which that's fair. But yeah, that's to me, there's like a difference there. And then by what accounts does someone need to be accountable? It's highly subjective. Yeah, it's very subjective. Like, do you hold friends accountable for being different? Yeah, like, people have different conceptions of what friendship means to them, and what does it mean to be accountable. People have different bars for that, and yeah, you just got to decide on which bar you want to accept. Right. Some people's definition of what a friend is, I'm not cool with, right? And so I wouldn't be able to be their friend. But they have the right to have the friends that they want to have. That's on them. But that's like it. That's an issue of incompatibility. Now I'm, so this is a kind of judgment, right? Where like, well, what is your criteria of a friend? And then they explain it to me like, well, I don't think that's a good criteria to have a friend. This is a judgment call, and I think it's a good judgment call. So yeah, in that way, like, some people just, in that way, there's some incompatibility with friendship that happens, that's okay. You shouldn't be friends with everybody if it's gonna compromise the way you want to live your life, right? But then you have to do a lot of introspection, right? Like, you have to think about, well, the way I want to live my life, is that a good way to live, like that? But then you have to do that work. And then Nadia says, I also never got COVID-19. I think I have 5 shots though, so I attribute it to that. Yeah, I got all the vaccines, but I know people who've been vaccinated all the time and they got COVID like all the time. So I don't know. It's we still they still trying to figure out this COVID virus. People are still getting affected by it. People are still dying from it. There's the whole long COVID thing that's happening now. Science doesn't really understand how that's working. So it's still, the virus is still quite mysterious. Unfortunately, we know a lot about it, but still, it's still quite elusive. Right? So, but yeah, I never got it. One time I got really sick, and I was like, "Oh, I guess I have it." But then I took a test, and it turned out like, no, it's negative. Like I had like a common cold or something. That's what I had. Not even the flu, just like a common cold variant. I like that boundary. Who you will be friends with, Neil well said. That's cool. Yeah, I don't know. You know, that's cool. I forgot because I said so much, but that's nice. You're right. Words do carry power as much as actions. They can. Sometimes they can't, but sometimes they can. Why do you think you are not as susceptible to the social media addiction trap? Um, yeah, I guess maybe it's just the way I'm wired. I don't know. I don't know, man. I have no idea. I really. Yeah, I think I am kind of weird sometimes. Yeah, I could be weird. Um, excuse my dog. He be tripping. Finished? I'm just a little. Let me give me like 30 seconds to see what my dog tripping about. I'll be right back. He's just barking at the neighbors. That's what he do. But he's a dog. Yeah, that's what dogs do. They bark at people that pass by. So he do that. That's the doggy. Uh, so yeah, I don't know why I'm not. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm kind of weird. Because like I said, it's probably the same reason why I like having hella friends, like, or like why I read. I'm currently rereading Karl Marx's Capital. Like I'm rereading that book because I'm part of this club where we're rereading Capital. I was like, hell yeah, let's do that again. It's a 1,000-page book. And this is just the first volume. I've done videos about. I've already read it, but that's Capital is the kind of book you should read multiple times. Like, but most people would be like, "Oh God, I could never read that book." But I'm just weird. I'm just that kind of person. Like, wow, this is fun. Surplus value. I don't know why I'm not susceptible to the social media trap. For the most part, friendship is a value. Uh, some people care about friends, whereas the rest don't. Yeah, some people don't. Um, well, I guess. Yeah, I'm trying to think about that one. Are there people who just don't give a shit about friends? I think everybody wants friends, but I think people's conception of friendship is, some people's idea of a friend is kind of a fucked up idea. Some people do use friends as just a way to get popular, or like, I want to be your friend because I know you can get me this hookup, or get me, I can move in your circles. Like I can get power if I'm your friend. And then some people believe like, oh, that's what friends are. Friends are people who who give you access to power, right? They're networking. I know people like that, so I know what you're talking about. I know people who are like, yeah, all you really care about is just like access to money and like fame. And those are the people who, like, a lot of those people, you see them thrive on Instagram and like Facebook, but not Facebook is like not that as popular of a media. It's kind of old. Instagram's like, that's the one where, or TikTok, right? It's funny. I have cousins who are like, who are much younger cousins than me. Like they're like 18, 19 or so. They're like, oh, you use Facebook? I use Instagram. And I'm like, dude, it's the same company. You don't know that? Like Meta, right? As we all know. Like Facebook, Instagram, they're the same corporation. So like, what the fuck? Like they have no conception, no idea. But they're like, oh, I got so many likes. Make sure you like, comment, and that's some cool shit. That's cool. Not necessary. But when you start equating like, oh wow, I have 100,000 followers, like that means something to, like, well, and so sometimes I think like, do those people really, but I guess one could say like, well, you're kind of being judgmental, Neil, right? Because it feels good to get high numbers. That's another thing I never really couldn't understand. And then, I mean, I kind of get it. Like, I understand people. I'm talking about the high numbers. Like, I make YouTube videos, and some people feel good about, wow, I got 10,000 subscribers. I got 100,000. I got 50,000. This is amazing. I'm like, why does that matter? First of all, and I just don't get it. But I understand like people feel validated because, yeah, I guess I understand people feel validated, but I guess I just don't know why. I guess that's just a lack of understanding on my end. Because I mentioned this before, like people subscribe. I mean, some people do subscribe because they like your content. Some people just subscribe because of many. People click on your video for many things. Like, oftentimes it has nothing to do with you as a person, right? It has to do like, wow, I like this person's shirt. I'm gonna click on them because I like their shirt, or I like this hair, or I just like the sound of their voice. I mean, I know people. I have friends who they look at my videos to fall asleep to, that's cool. I'm not like offended. Like, what? I mean, I know that's a whole genre, ASMR, right? But I have friends who they don't care at all about philosophy. They're just like, I just watch your videos because they put me to sleep. Which is like, yeah, I mean, I get it. I make videos about capital, like most people. That's a yawn fest. But it's not even about like, wow, I really like the guy Neil Trotter. It's like, nah, this guy just talks about boring things that puts me to sleep. There's so many reasons why somebody will subscribe to your channel, like, and often it doesn't mean like they want to be your friend. Sometimes people subscribe because they do want to be your friend, and I think like a lot of the people who comment, they're cool people. They're like, yeah, I like what you're doing. You seem like a cool guy. And that's cool. But for me, it's like, it's never. Yeah, I just don't get that. Where it's like, and it's just funny because, I mean, it's funny and it's sad, dark humor, because you see people who have like huge amounts of viewership, and then they like, I'm quitting YouTube. Or like, I'm not happy. I'm seeing a therapist. It's like, yeah, yeah, get your help, do your self care, but like that type of validation isn't like that doesn't mean at the end of the day it's meaningless, right? Why? Because you know as like and so we're talking about friendship because I just want to relate this back to friendship because a lot of people they think they're getting friends online, but really they're these what they call parasocial relationships, which is not a friendship, right? And a lot of times it's not even a parasocial relationship. It's just like sometimes like it could be all types. It could be like a weird fetish. Maybe somebody's just like, I mean, that's a lot of people who subscribe to people, to be quite frank, like, because that's what people, I've had conversation with people like, oh yeah, I just like this person because, I like their belly button. Like people will subscribe so it's like, which is, and if you're aware of that kind of stuff, if you're aware that that's what's going on, then it's not a problem. Right? You're like, well, I know a lot of people, like, I have 100,000 subscribers, and probably 30,000 of them only care about my belly button or whatever, some weird or some thing that has nothing to do with my personality. But problem is when you start feeling like, oh, these are my friends. These are my friends. Like a lot of those people are not your friends. Like maybe they just like the products that you're talking about, right? It's like, which is so yeah, it's kind of interesting. Maybe that's why I don't fall into social media addiction trap because I kind of understand what social media is. It's what are like we are not as consumers. That's the we're not the customers. Like we're not the companies, social media companies. They're not serving us. They serve the advertisers. So like it's all everything that happens is in service of the advertisers. Even like your subscriber count and your like it's all designed to cater to advertise. So it has nothing to do with like or it has very little to do with somebody actually like giving a shit about what you. And so I understand that. So I'm able to filter a lot of that out. But yeah. And then what do you say? Some people care about friends. So yeah, so some people care about friends whereas others don't. I think everybody wants to have a friend, but I think not everybody, or a lot of people's idea of what a friend is kind of messed up. So that's why books like the Symposium and like philosophical works about friendship are important because that starts making you think like, well, what really is a friend, and like how do I develop friends, or what is my criteria for friendship? And those are important. So, or what do I think a friend should be? Not everybody has those kinds of conversations. And Jeremy says, what's your opinion on psychology of loneliness? Oh man, I have a great book. Let me see if I can pull it off the shelf. That's about that. Maybe I'll take a few seconds to see if I can find it, but I might not be able to find it. Let me look. I think I showed this book before. Okay, so this is a book. I think I've shown this book before. Let's see if the glare. I got this glare. It's too bad. It's called The Lonely City. Adventures in the Art of Being Alone by Olivia Lang. Olivia Lang, who I believe now goes by they, them pronouns, is one of my favorite authors. One of my favorite authors. And this book is about loneliness, but it focuses on artists like Andy Warhol, and who was a very lonely person. People who are surrounded by lots of. So the book is about being alone in, like, when you're amongst many, many people. Right? And so it really gets into the psychology of loneliness. You showed it before. Yeah, I thought I did. What's going on? But yeah, I would highly recommend it if you're trying to understand the psychology of loneliness. This is great. Who else? Who was that photographer that took pictures of naked erect men who is the lover of Patti Smith? Mapplethorpe, I think his name is. They talk about him. It's a bunch of artists that this Lang brings up, and they also talk about themselves being very lonely, despite the fact that they live in, like, New York City, or like Paris, or like a metropolitan, a metropolis, basically. How people are, like, loneliness is this thing even when you're surrounded by people. Right? There's a difference between being alone and loneliness, right? And it's really fascinating because you hear that a lot today. Like, that people feel so lonely. It's like, well, just go outside. There's, like, plenty of people out there. but just because there's a lot of people out there doesn't mean you're not alone, or you don't feel loneliness. Right? I guess it goes back to friendship. It's like, well, there's a lot of people here, but none of these people I feel like I'm compatible with, being a friend. Right? So it's interesting. So that's a lot about, that's something about the psychology of loneliness. It's like, if you're surrounded by a lot of people, but you're like, well, none of these people, I can't identify with these people. They don't share my beliefs, or, like, their idea of what it means to have fun is, like, not my idea of having fun. Right? Or their way of life, I just can't jive with it. And there's a lot of that going on. Or it's kind of like what we were talking about before with the social media trap, where it's like people are chasing these goals. Another thing about friends having mutual goals, right? They're like, I got to get 100,000 subscribers, right? or whatever. And not to knock that goal, right? If I had 100,000 subscribers, that would be great. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's cool. That's a good accomplishment. But maybe you're a type of person that's like, yeah, I just don't give a damn about that. That doesn't appeal to me. And when you're with people who, like, that's all they care about. Yeah, so we could talk about that with the psychology of loneliness. And then you say, I think what's important about friendship is to simply spend time with each other. Yeah. And a relationship is like a house plant. If you heard that played out saying, you got to keep watering it. If you don't water it, it won't grow. Right? Yeah, I think that's true about basically any relationship. Right? You gotta spend time with each other. And then Nadia says, have you ever felt socially anxious? No. Does our current society make us more socially anxious? Probably. Now that we can hide behind screens and lots of people don't feel connected to a community these days? Well, that's an age-old question, right? Is social anxiety something that has increased? I think there's studies that have been done that show that probably is the case. But sometimes I'm like, well, I don't know about that. Like maybe because in terms of like social anxiety is a mental health issue, and mental health in our current society has people have become more aware of it, more focused. People who are like saying it's gotten a lot more legitimacy as opposed to like back in the 1950s or something where there was no social media, but also there was no real awareness of like mental health. Like, I mean, they would call women like, oh, you have hysteria. Right? For like anytime there was any stress, right? It's like, oh, you have hysteria. If they had social anxiety, oh, you have hysteria. Oh, you have depressed, oh, you have hysteria. Or they'd be like, just get over it. Right? So I wonder, like, have people always been dealing with social anxiety and it was just dismissed? I kind of think that's more the case. And the other thing were people more connected with their community back in those days, or like where, I mean, I'm just thinking about like the 50s, the 60s. I wonder if it's more like people were kind of forced we didn't have, because now that we have the internet, we can kind of find our own communities, right? We could kind of like say to our, the people who we don't relate to, well, that's fine. I'll just go on my computer and I'll look for my own community, which is that can then you start to hunker down online all the time, which could be unhealthy. But before then, like people couldn't escape, so they were kind of forced to be in the community, whether it was a problematic community or not. Like, well, I don't relate to this community. It's like you have no choice. You have to just be in this community. So I wonder, you think about like I think about like the hippies at the San Francisco, where people flocked, where people moved to places. Like that was the whole hippie movement, where many people from around the United States moved to San Francisco because they felt like I don't belong here. I gotta go, you know. But now you don't have to travel across the country. You can just like log on to the internet and do the same thing, right? Uh, so I don't know. I don't know. I think I wonder because I do read some articles, some scientific articles that say like, yeah, mental health is people are more anxious these days. But I wonder, is that really the case, or are we just like more aware of the social anxiety as a concept? It's not just being dismissed, and we're just noticing it more, but where it's always been that way. And yeah, and the whole thing with community, because people will say like, oh yeah, people were more in touch with their community back then. I'm like, well, did they have an option? I wonder. For your next live stream, please talk about humor. Okay, let me put that on my list. Okay, then let me respond to this case test tag. Okay, I will pick it up. And then go to my notes. Nope, not that one. Get rid of friendship because we talked about that one. And humor. Sure, we can add that to the list. And Nadia says, "Do you know much about social anxiety? How to work on it?" No, I don't. I don't have social anxiety, but I do know I have many friends who have social anxiety, and many loved ones, many close family members who have, clinical social anxiety where they take medication to deal with it. So I have experience dealing with being friends and family members who deal with serious social anxiety, where they have panic attacks and things like that. But yeah, it's kind of hard for me to help people, loved ones who have social anxiety, because I don't get it. But it's a disorder of the mind, right? It's a mental it's a mental health issue, right? So it's like, it's kind of, it's like the flu, or something, it's like a, any type of medical condition, whereas you gotta have to have some sort of like medical educational training to deal with it, right? Because I've never had social anxiety in my life. So, and so I think a lot about that, because there is this. So people who deal with depression and anxiety, there's this kind of rift between people who don't, where people who don't, they just like, I don't understand. Like, just get over it, or like just be sad and then move on. Like they don't, but we don't get, like, well, it's not like, depression is not anxiety, like scared, like being sad and being depressed are not the same thing, right? Or being scared and being clinically anxious, these are two different things, right? So you can't just get over it. That's like saying, like, somebody's, as preaching to the choir, right? Like, so, you break somebody's arm, it's like, well, just get over it. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that, right? So, what I do is like, well, let's go, see your medical professional, and whatever the medical professional says, that's what we need to do. That's usually how I deal with that issue, because I don't know what to do. I just like, well, what did the psychiatrist say? What did the therapist say? What did the the psychologist tell you to do? Like, why you should do that? I don't know. Any other good books you've read about friendship? I can't think of any off the top of my head. Let me look if I see if I covered any of those on the channel. Just breezing through my videos here. I'm not seeing them. Let's see. How about the phenomenology of spirit? No, I'm just playing. No, I don't think I have. Can't really recommend. But, if anybody else has anything they want to recommend, feel free to put that in the comment section or the chat. Yeah, that's not really an area I'm particularly focused on philosophically. Yeah, I'm not really finding none. Nope. Maybe we could do a live chat on mental illness. Sure. Put that on there. I'll put a star next to one's viewers and recommend. How long is the Communist Manifesto? It's quite short. That would be a nice read. Aubrey, hello. Edwards. I'm in a book club, and our version is only 34 pages long. No, it's about that short. I think it's basically like a pamphlet. They passed it around. It's like propaganda or agitprop. So yeah, it's just pretty short. So that's a good place to start if you want to learn about socialism, Marxism, communism, Marxist-Leninism. It's kind of a nice place to start right there. Okay. Now, what we want to make sure we do before we end is make sure I do not miss any chats, because last time I missed chat. So let me do a double check. Okay, and then I want to go to my channel. View my channel. Click on this. Miss any chats. That's just me. Mute that. Okay, just checking. I'm gonna X that out for now. Have you heard of complexity? The physics term? Oh no. What do you mean? You mean? Do you mean in the field of physics? There's a specific meaning for the word complex. Yeah, I'm not aware of that. But please, if you would like to, I'm just looking it up now. See, this is the beauty of the internet. No, I'm not finding anything special about that word. Oh no? Okay. I don't know what you mean. Have you heard of complexity, the physics term? No, I don't know. I've never heard of that. Thanks for the chat today. You're welcome. It was fun. Yeah, we reached our hour mark. So if there's no other chats, we will conclude. Or any other comments, questions, concerns? It's like anthropology. Yeah, I don't know about that. Oh, hello, Joseph. To what extent has social media replaced face-to-face friendship? I would hazard to guess 90%. Yeah, probably. Yeah. If I were just to think back, right? Because I'm Generation Y. I'm 39 years old. I'm not ashamed. I'm 39 years old. Right? So, I'm of the age where I remember life before the internet. Right? I remember we used to, you know, when we called friends on the landline. I do remember that. I used to do that when I was a kid. I would, I even had one of those rotary phones where you turn them. I mean, I think those were already gone. It's just, I think that was my grandma's, right? That she had. She just never threw it away. I had one of those, and we would hang out. I would hang out with my friends in person. I'm just trying to think, do I do that any less than I do now? And I would say no. I'm trying to think, do I hang out with my friends face to face any less than I did when I was a kid? And to that I would say no, but maybe I'm the exception. I still hang out with my friends a lot in person. We go to hangouts. I go to the club, to the bars. I like to go out a lot. I'm like one of those knows? I'm definitely not an introvert. And dances and such. So I don't know. I think for some people, maybe it's like a generational thing. But I don't know. My young cousins, they go out all the time. Yeah, they hang out. I mean, they're also on their phones. All like they're on the phones a lot. But they also out in the clubs a lot too. They out clubbing. So I don't know. I don't know. So I don't think so. To what extent has social media replaced face-to-face friendship? I don't know if it has. Yeah, I'm not sure if it has. At least I personally don't know people that replace. Like I still know lots of people who go out and talk to their friends in person. I walk my dog a lot. I even see that, like people just hanging on the porch, talking to their buddies. So I don't know. Yeah, it's just interesting because I wonder. It's probably not exaggerated, but sometimes I feel like it's kind of over exaggerated. This idea, like, oh my God, social media is making us more insular and more introverted. Is like, is it though? I don't know. It probably is, but I don't know. I think maybe like we were just as insular and introverted before social media or the internet, for that matter. I mean, people really didn't travel outside of their little neighborhoods, like in the 90s, in the 1990s. If anything, I guess the internet. I mean, the internet's kind of made us expand more. I mean, people are definitely still separated. I mean, there's the whole like polarization. Politics have polarized us, and then you'll say like, it's my doggy again, and then you'll say like, man, it's never been this bad. Like, well, I don't know. I'm pretty sure this in the Civil War days, it was worse. It was, when they had the Civil War, the American politics, it was very polarizing then too. So I don't know. And then for social science and the entanglement of math and science, okay, cool. That's what the complexity means. That's nice. Okay, guys. Yeah, if there's no other comments, questions, I'm out of here. But I want to thank everybody for joining. But don't want to rush you. If you want to continue the conversation, no issue. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. So Aubrey says complexity theory in organizations. Okay. Also called complexity strategy or complex adaptive organization, is the use of the study of complexity systems in the field of strategic management and organ. Okay. Nice. Yep. That's an interesting aside. Good to know. Let me check. All right, quick. Okay. Well, thanks for tuning into the Black Ponderer. It was great. I'll see y'all next time. Peace out. And sayonara. I study Japanese. I don't have my book. Oh, I think I'm gonna go study my Japanese. Why am I studying Japanese? Because I just want to play my Japanese video games. I just got this Japanese video game, so I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. And oyasumi nasai. Oyasumi nasai. That's good night in Japanese. Yep. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.